Welcome to the life you crave. Simple and sustainable weight loss for women who have better things to do than diet. I'm your host, Leah Pinelli. I help ambitious, badass women stop overeating, overworking, and overgiving to lose weight from a place of love. I'll help you simplify weight loss, end your overwhelm, and create the life you crave. If you like what you hear, please like and subscribe to this podcast. Let's get started. The very first thing I teach every client is how to eat when she's hungry and stop when she's not. This is the same thing I learned when I started my weight loss journey 30 pounds ago. In fact, I lost 7 pounds without even changing what I was eating. I wasn't even trying to lose weight. And my client, Amy, she lost 20 pounds just using this one tool alone. You can learn it too in under 30 minutes in my video training called Eating Without Fear. Head over to leahpinelli.com/EWF to start today. That's leahpinelli.com/EWF. Hey, can you believe we are halfway through the year already? 2023 is more than half gone at the time that this podcast is being released. And I always love to invite people to reflect back on January, right? Like, let's not go through this entire year of 2023 forgetting our goals, forgetting our ambitions, and then we just end up circling back to December 31st, 2023. I mean, like, oh yeah, those New Year's resolutions, right? Those goals and those plans that I had for myself this year. I personally am someone who I actually revisit my goals on a daily basis, but you might not be the same way. So I thought I would just pop in here mid-July and invite you to look back at what you said you wanted for 2023. Not from a place of shame, because, I don't do shame. Not from a place of shame, not from a place of guilt, not from a place of feeling bad, but rather from a place of, oh, I still have half the year. I still have 6 months of 2023. I can still make some gains in this area that I said I wanted to grow. So looking back at your New Year's resolutions, if you had them, or your goals or your intentions for 2023, what were they? Do you even remember? If not, that's okay. Just maybe go back and look wherever you wrote them down. And if you didn't set any goals or any intentions or any resolutions for 2023, I invite you to not be afraid to set them now. Like I said, we have 6 full months in front of us. A lot of people shy away from setting resolutions and goals and plans because they have let themselves down so many times in the past that it feels horrible. It feels terrible to think about letting yourself down again. So why even bother setting a goal if I'm just going to let myself down? But I want to invite you to share with me a new perspective, which is that setting a goal is simply making a promise to yourself. And when you break the promise to yourself, as I've talked about in recent episodes, when you break promises to yourself, you are eroding trust. You are eroding trust with yourself. And when you can become a woman who makes a decision to achieve and accomplish something, and you're going to follow through on that promise to yourself, you become freaking invincible. You become so powerful because there's nothing that you will say that you're going to do that you don't do. Can you imagine just for a minute what your life would be like if you always followed through on yourself? On today's episode, I'm going to talk to you about specifically how to do that, because it's not what you think. It's not, I'm going to set this goal that I'm going to lose 20, 30 pounds, and then I'm just going to achieve it and boom, it's done. It doesn't work that way. You and I both know that because we've done it a million times, right? And you just gain it back and then some. Today, I'm going to share with you on the show what the actual problem is, why you haven't been achieving that goal, specifically your goal around overeating or stopping overeating. And the 3 things that you actually need to do with your goal, to change your goal, the 3 steps to making a goal that you can actually achieve, that you can actually follow through on. So let's get started. The first thing that I need you to understand when it comes to overeating, and whether you're an overeater or not, most likely you are if you're listening to my podcast. But even if you're not an overeater, if you're over something else, if you're overing in some other way, right? Maybe you overdrink or you overeat certain foods or you overwork, you overgive, you're overwhelmed, all of the overings, whatever you are overing, you can apply it to our discussion today on overeating. Just swap out my term overeating for whatever your thing is. But I'm going to talk about overeating because that's the most, that's what this whole podcast is really about. So the problem is often that we don't actually understand the root of the reason why we are overeating in the first place, right? And it might be the same for if you're overspending. A lot of times we don't understand what the root of the issue is. We just know that the overing is the problem. The overeating is my problem, right? If I could just stop overeating, I would solve this problem. If I could stop overspending, I would solve this problem. But we actually need to understand why it's happening in the first place. Overeating, for example, there's actually multiple reasons that people overeat. There's different types of overeaters. And that is the absolute number one first step that you have to take in order to really, truly stop overeating, is you have to solve the problem of what type of overeater are you in the first place so that you know how to solve the problem. I have a free quiz. It is called What Type of Overeater Are You? And it is for free. You can get it at leahpinelli.com/quiz. And you can take it in under 5 minutes, but it's going to help you assess what is the type of overeater that you are. Are you a biochemical overeater? Are you an emotional overeater? Are you a combo overeater? It's going to, in under 5 minutes, you will be able to figure out exactly what type of overeater you are. And the quiz will also tell you in the response how to solve the problem of overeating in the first place, depending on the type of overeater you are. But here's the thing. We don't just stop overeating because we set some goal to lose 30 pounds. Do you see what I mean? Like your goal is 30 pounds. Most of my listeners are highly ambitious, highly successful, high achieving women who know how to set a goal and reach it. They're like, yeah, I could do this all day with my eyes closed, except for when it comes to food and weight. So often the reason that they are unable to crack the code with food and weight is because they either are overeating for biochemical reasons, they are overeating for emotional reasons, or they are overeating for both of those reasons. But until you figure out the reasons, you can't solve the problem effectively. So you can set goals all day long to stop overeating, but you don't actually understand why you're overeating in the first place. So again, go to leahpinelli.com/quiz, and you can get the free quiz and figure it out in under 5 minutes. So once you understand why you were overeating in the first place, the type of overeater you are, then you can start to set goals that actually are going to support your transformation, that are going to support your body, that are not going to feel like deprivation or that you need tons of self-control or discipline, all those ugly words, right? Instead, you'll have this deeper understanding. Now let's talk about goals, because you have to actually set goals that you can achieve that are aligned with the type of overeater that you are, or are aligned with the what's important to you, what is values aligned in your life. And I will tell you, there are 3 things that I have seen that when people set goals that don't work, that they are setting themselves up for failure and they don't even know it, especially my high achievers, especially my career-driven, successful women, because we're really good at setting the bar real high. We are really good at, setting big goals and achieving them. But when it comes to overeating, there's a different reality to that. There's a different reason that you're overeating. And therefore, you have to actually set goals that are aligned with addressing that. So here are the top 3 mistakes that I see people making when it comes to setting goals. The first mistake that I see them making is that they set goals that in order to achieve them, they believe they have to be miserable to get there. So what I mean is typically when we think I need to lose 30 pounds, we then think I need to go on a diet. We then think diets mean deprivation. I need to stop eating carbs. I need to stop eating fat. I need to stop eating meat. I need to stop. And what you're doing is you're literally extracting pleasure from your life. Well, as I've said a million times on the show, and I'll continue to say it, we are hardwired to seek pleasure. So when you try to extract pleasure, your brain is going to freak the F out, right? Because that is not what we're designed to do. And you're hardwired to not do that. So what happens is the minute that you get a little tired or a little bored or a little stressed or a little overwhelmed, you go into automatic pilot of seeking pleasure. And pleasure, when you've been depriving yourself, sure is going to come from a chocolate chip cookie or a donut or a bag of chips or, for me, a big old bowl of popcorn and a bottle of wine, right? I mean, that is how we are hardwired. So in order to not fall into that trap of self-deprivation, but also still achieve your goals, you have to start thinking about your goals as an opportunity to hook yourself up, right? I want to hook up my future self. I want her to be excited and feel good about what she's going to do to achieve the goal. She cannot be dreading it. It cannot be something that is miserable that she has to do for the rest of her life, like eat salad with no dressing for the rest of her life or never eat a carbohydrate again, right? Like never eat a piece of bread. Like what? No. Girl, that does not work. If it worked, you would have done it by now, right? It doesn't work. It has to have a strong capital P pleasure factor in whatever your goal is. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, how do I do that though, Leah? Like, how do I set a goal that is full of pleasure, but that also includes weight loss? Well, again, that is beyond the scope of this program, this podcast. I can't teach you that over the podcast. That is what my 90 Days to Food Freedom program does do, is teaches you exactly. Because pleasure is individualized. Pleasure is subjective, right? What feels good to you, it might not feel good to me. So we have to define that for ourselves, define a way of eating, a way of being, a way of living that allows you to eat foods you love, but that also allows you to live at your happy weight with maximal pleasure and minimal effort. But what I am going to tell you right here, right now, what you need to understand, what I can share with you on this show, the nugget that I want you to take with you is that you must prioritize pleasure if you are going to achieve the goal. I know it sounds like an oxymoron, but it's not. Number 2, the biggest mistake that I see people make when they are trying to lose weight is they sign up for something that is totally unsustainable. And by unsustainable, I mean time consuming or mentally taxing, right? Like for those of us who are running businesses, who are running staff, who are CEOs or directors, for those of us who are running the show at work, and most of us are running the show at home. Welcome to the reality of being a woman in 2023, right? For those of us who are in that category, we do not have the mental capacity to also be counting a bunch of points every day according to what we ate. We do not have the capacity to be counting calories or to be worried about adding in an hour of exercise every frickin' day to make up for the, piece of cheesecake that you had last Tuesday at the office party, right? I mean, we do not have mental capacity for this. So whatever the goal is that you decide, whether it's to stop overeating, to lose 30 pounds, it has to be efficient, time efficient. I will not, nor will I ever, spend my Sundays meal prepping. That sounds like hell to me. Okay. I don't like to spend more than 20 minutes in the kitchen at a time. So the idea of meal prepping, of chopping and packaging and oh my gosh, I mean, it sounds great to have it all set up, but I'm not about to be the one to do it. And I don't have to. I can maintain my happy weight, which is my happy weight happens to be in the middle of the BMI for a healthy normal weight of a woman my height. I can maintain that without spending a bunch of time in the kitchen. And that is important to me. If I can only live at this weight by spending time in the kitchen, preparing and chopping and cutting and never eating in a restaurant and never having wine, forget it. It's not sustainable. It's not going to work for me. I'm not going to do it. And neither will you if it's not values aligned for you. So you have to make goals, set goals that are full of pleasure on the pathway and that are sustainable. And again, you might be thinking that doesn't sound possible. I promise you it is. It is what we do all day, every day in my 90-day to food freedom program. The last thing that I often see as kind of being a trap with goals is two things, but both of them have to do with quick wins. One is that in a lot of ways, we need some quick wins in the beginning to keep our hope alive, right? So when you are first embarking on a path of weight loss, it really helps to lose a few pounds, right? In the beginning, because then you're like, oh, okay, I see this is working. But here's what I'll tell you. If you love what you're doing, if there is pleasure involved and it is not time consuming and it's sustainable, even if you don't get those quick wins, you'll still keep going because it's not hard. It's full of pleasure, right? Like, why not? I'll just keep going, keep seeing what happens, even if I haven't lost a few pounds, which most of my clients do start losing right away, but some don't. Some are like, scale hasn't budged, and that's okay because sometimes some bodies are just a little bit slower, but they don't have to sacrifice and they don't have to deprive until they get a win because they're like, well, I might not be losing any weight yet, but I really like the changes I've made. I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling like this is really sustainable. And guess what? That's the formula, right? That's the formula. Pleasure plus sustainability is what's going to keep you moving toward your goal. There's a great book, if you haven't read it, Atomic Habits by James Clear. And he goes into great detail about exactly what I'm talking about, but about how to really maintain and sustain habits that you want to incorporate into your life. Now, the other, kind of the other side of the coin with quick wins is that for some people, weight loss can be slow, right? It can be slow. Our bodies can be slower than we'd like to release the weight. And what usually ends up happening is because it's slow, you end up thinking this isn't working. So F it. I'm going to go back to eating how I was eating before. Well, what you didn't understand was that your body was actually in the process of losing weight. It just wasn't showing up on the scale yet. But it very well, you could be one day away from it showing up on the scale, but then because you got a case of the F-its, because you think it's not working, you decided to go and eat the pizza and the Coca-Cola and the whatever and the ice cream and all the things. And the next thing you know, you're like, oh, see, it's not working because my weight never went down. But it's because you literally were 3 feet from, no, not literally, figuratively, you were 3 feet from gold and you walked away, right? You gave up right before you were about to see that shift or that change. So this is where, in my experience, having community and having support is the game changer. Because when you think it's time for you to throw in the towel, having a coach to be like, no, girl, it is not time to throw in the towel. And this is my rule for my clients, right? Because I have so much experience. I have seen so many women lose weight quickly in my program and lose weight slowly in my program. So when it is sustainable and pleasurable and you have somebody in your corner and you have the support of a community or a mentor or a coach, other people who are in this with you, it actually can be fun. It actually can feel good. Yes, I just said that. Weight loss can be fun. It actually can be fun. It actually can feel good. It can actually take you into a fuller expression of yourself and of who you were meant to be in this world through this process. I know that sounds crazy, but that's what happened for me in my life. And it's what I see happening over and over and over again with my clients. So what I really hope you take away from this episode today is a true understanding that first and foremost, you have to understand the type of overeater that you are if you're going to solve the problem. And I have a free quiz. What type of overeater are you? You can get it at leahpinelli.com/quiz. And in under 5 minutes, you will understand whether or not you are a biochemical overeater, an emotional overeater, or both combination. The second thing that you need in order to hit your goals is your goals have to be A, rooted in the type of overeater you are, but B, they have to be pleasurable. No matter what your goal is, it has to include pleasure, lots and lots of pleasure. It has to be sustainable. If you're not somebody who wants to spend tons of time in the kitchen, it can't require you to spend tons of time in the kitchen. If you're not somebody who likes to eat salad with no dressing, it can't be eating salad with no dressing. It's never going to work. And last but not least, you need that community. You need that support. You need those quick wins, and you need that group, that coach, that mentor who is going to lift you up when you think it's time to quit. And you might just be 3 feet from gold. All right, my loves. Thanks for listening. I cannot wait to see you on the next episode. Ciao.
You've been listening to The Life You Crave. I lost 30 pounds years ago without dieting, willpower, or deprivation. I'm on a mission to help other women, including you, do the same. You can book a free weight loss strategy session with me over at leahpinelli.com. That's LIAPINELLI.com. See you on our next call or on the next episode. And remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment on iTunes.